Hey, everybody. I am so excited today to introduce you to Kysha Mitchell. She owns Elevate Your Now, where she coaches powerhouse women. How exciting is that? There are not a lot of people out in the world that I think say, I can coach the best of the best, the top dogs, and not be scared. So, Kysha, I'm excited to have you on today. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your background and why you decided to coach some of the best, which to me would be a little bit scary.
Yeah, well, first of all, my background, I have a background in accounting and finance, in corporate and in small places too. I actually did some operations and bookkeeping for a law firm before I went to corporate. But I have always had the entrepreneurial bug. So I have designed clothing since high school, and that was my thing. Like one day, I'm going to have this design house. And I did it after I left corporate, after I had my children. I always say, thank God for corporate and maternity leave, because they allowed me to have my children.
Amen.
And I got paid for it. So I always say thank you to corporate because you paid me to have my children. I appreciate that. But yeah, so after that, I went on to design children's clothing. So I had my own line that was in different boutiques, and I sold online and at different festivals and things like that. And when the .com thing burst, and kind of our economy went into shambles, so many clothing boutiques were closing. People weren't taking chances with new designers, and so I had to shut it down. That was my baby. Yeah, so after that, I went back to accounting. I've always had different, kind of side businesses and things that I've done on the side. I coached. I had both of my children at home. I am a birth junkie, and I decided to be a certified natural birth educator. So I've done a lot of things. I know this sounds like, it's all over the place. But one of the things that I do with my clients is I say to them, because a lot of powerhouse women tend to be multi-passionate. We have our hands in a lot of different things. And I tend to say to them, there is a thread. Where is the thread? And what I learned is my thread was always either in leadership positions or some kind of inspiration and empowerment. I was always trying to pull people's potential out of them. When people say, what is your superpower? My superpower is being able to shine a little laser beam, like right into you and say, I see it. I see that power. I see that greatness that you are, shrinking from. And how can I pull that out of you and show you what you already have? So anyway, in a nutshell, that's me. So now with Elevate Your Now, I went into this as a blog. I said, hey guys, I'm going to start a blog and just put some of my ideas online. That turned into workshops, which I've been doing kind of in my home just for friends. I turned into workshops, which then turned into coaching, which now is where I'm at. I am coaching powerhouse women.
So tell us a little bit about power. What is a powerhouse woman? Because I think of like CEO, CFO, COO, VP. Like, what exactly is a powerhouse woman? How would you define her?
Sure. So what I like to say is powerhouse. You can be a powerhouse whether you are a mom or a mogul. And what I ask my people is who in here thinks of themselves as a powerhouse? Because you have women who think of themselves as a powerhouse. They're like, yeah, I know I'm powerful. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been a high achiever. And then I ask them, who in here has had other people describe you as a powerhouse or powerful? Because I think we also walk through life shrinking from our light, yet constantly have people tell us, wow, you're powerful, or, you are always the go-to person. So for me, a powerhouse woman is someone who is a high achiever, who wants to excel in whatever they're doing. whether it's cooking for their family and setting up a really, a place where their family can thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is in the business world, whether it's in the corporate arena, perhaps it's health and fitness. Maybe it's some kind of social justice and activism. But powerhouses to me are people who recognize their inner power and they use it for good. So whether they know it or other people see them doing it, it's still powerful. And we have certain characteristics, not all powerhouses are extroverts. I definitely have some clients that are introverts, but we aren't afraid of our power. We understand that whether, like I said, it's with our family, through community, or through our jobs, or some kind of cause that we see in the world, we understand that our inner power, our knowledge, our skills, whatever it is, that it can affect change, that we can have an impact. I think that's one of the main things for powerhouse women. And then we have our weaknesses. We are seen as the women who have achieved, who have gotten over where other people would have, shrunk from something, who have overcome things. And because of that, we don't like to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And people don't often offer help. We don't like to start over again because we're accustomed to being the person that people come to for the answers. We're accustomed to leading people and laying out the way to do things. And that's where I come in. I come in to help people with their calling, with what it is on their heart that they know they want to do, that keeps them up at night, mm-hmm. to start from the bottom and make that into a success.
Oh, I love that, because there's so many women in my world that in this Walmart and Amazon and retail world that we're in, it's high stakes, high reward. Well, unfortunately, we get paid gobs of money, but every year and a half they're turning the ship. Like you get let go and you got to go start all over somewhere else. Or and for a lot of us, we don't want to be in this rat race anymore. I know personally I didn't. I came back to Walmart after my second paid maternity leave. Thank God.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought there has to be more to life than this. And I'm scared because I'm going to have to start all over, and I have my master's degree and I make X amount of dollars, but I don't want to be stuck in this little cubicle bubble anymore. And when you start over, sometimes you do start from the bottom and you do have to kind of, start all over and bring that income back up again. Yeah. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. I think you're right. We think that powerful women, they don't need help. Right. They don't need somebody to come and make dinner for them or to clean their house, because they can do everything.
They can do everything. Yes. Yes. And it's so funny because that they can do everything. One of the things that I work first with my clients is the idea that work-life balance doesn't work. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about harmonizing your life. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of harmony versus balance.
That's good.
And, because that's our strength and our weakness. We do a lot of things and we do a lot of things well, but what happens? It impacts us. It impacts our health, our mental and physical health, mm-hmm. A lot. And even though we're constantly doing things for people around us, we're not actually just being for the people around us. Mm-hmm. So it feels like we're doing a lot of things, but sometimes we're actually impacting negatively the people around us because they aren't even getting who we really are.
I love that. And I have such a funny story about that. Right. So for me, I've, I run my own company. I've got 2 kids. I have an office at my home. I have an office at Bentonville. And a few years ago, I kept telling my husband, like, why can't we clean our house by ourselves? Why can't we clean the toilets? And I would run around like a crazy person on cleaning day and make everybody angry. And I would be angry at everybody else because I'm like, go clean the toilets. And one day my husband looked at me and he's like, honey, we make enough money that you can pay someone to clean the toilets. I don't like to clean the toilets. I don't want to clean the toilets. stop yelling at me. And it was like, that was what it finally took for me to hire a cleaning lady who comes every Friday to my house to make sure that my house stays clean. And there's no more yelling about scrubbing toilets or picking up all their crap off the floor.
Yes.
And that's one little way that for me, I try to bring a little harmony into my house.
Yes.
I'm not running around like the crazy, powerful businesswoman mother that I am.
Right. That's so perfect, because that is one of the keys that I tell my women is like, you have all of these things that are available, in your life. And I think the thing with women too is a lot of the concepts that I use in my workshops and with my clients, I feel like are more feminine ways to really be inside of life. So caught up in the very traditional, very male-oriented ideas of balance. Women we're very fluid. We don't compartmentalize things as much. And so when it comes to things like, oh, well, our house needs to be clean, and I'm also doing this, and I mean, have the kids eaten? And have they eaten chips and pizza, or have they actually had a vegetable in a couple days? Like, those kinds of things we feel like they need to balance. But harmony says that you arrange different aspects in ways that are pleasing and that can work together. So that might mean that we aren't thinking of these things in our lives in terms of how much we love them or how loyal we are to them. And this is where I think for women in particular, work-life balance just does not work for us, because we are thinking, well, I love the people in my life, so I have to give them more, of my time. But harmonizing your life is about your time, energy, and focus. It's not about who you love or who you're loyal to. And so I'll give you a good example that is pretty much just like what you were saying. When I was preparing for my 2-day event, I knew it was going to take everything out of me. And I was going to be working long days. So when you harmonize, you take into account the phase of life you are in right now. For some women, that can change from month to month. For some women, it can change from week to week. It can depend on your children's lives and what they're doing. It can depend on holidays. For instance, I just harmonized with a lot of my clients for the holidays, because you can't balance the same things when you have people coming in, or you're traveling, or you're cooking, you're doing all of these things. So for this part of my life, I knew, okay, workshop is coming. What that means is this is increasing in my life. The time, energy, and focus that I'm putting toward my business is increasing. That means something else has to decrease. Well, Jennifer, it was definitely the housework. And so before I started doing this, I would beat myself up like we all do. You walk in the house and you see the house looking a mess and you're like, oh my God, why can't I keep it together? Like, people think I'm awesome, I'm doing all of this over here, but my house is a pigsty. And what do? We get mad at everybody in the house, right? Really, we're mad at ourselves. We're beating ourselves up, and we start lashing out at people. Well, I decided the housework is going to decrease. And I say to my entrepreneurial clients, decrease or delegate, like what you did. You delegated. So decrease, and then all of my work life right now for the next month is going to go up. What that meant for me is I could come in the house and not feel bad because I prioritized my work over my housework, and I chose to do that. So it's a mindset shift, so that you don't have the whole idea of work-life balance and us making ourselves sick, either mentally or physically, is because we're beating ourselves up about it. It's usually not because things aren't getting done. It's because we are driving ourselves crazy with the things that we feel like we can't do or that we're failing at. This is not a time management system. This is a mindset shift of, if I'm doing this, that means something else has to be decreased or delegated. So I can walk into my house and feel good about stepping over piles of clothes and finding some silverware, in the sink to wash tonight for dinner. I can do that with a clear mind and still feeling good about it because I have decided previously, that I'm going to prioritize this. Same with my kids. I have one of my clients is, she's trying to write, actually she's trying to push her book. She just wrote her book. And she's like, but I love my kids. I can't decrease my children, but her children are in college. But the thing is for women is we think, well, what do I love? Who am I most loyal to? Those things have to be at the top of my list, but we're not talking about your heart. When we're talking about getting to your goals and success and sustaining the things that are important to you, we're simply talking about your time, energy, and focus. So I told her, you can decrease the everyday phone call, to your children, which is time that you can spend on something else. The energy of constantly worrying about the different things that they're doing in college miles away. And the focus by choosing what you're putting your focus on at different times of the day. You can take that, decrease that, and take that time, energy, and focus and put it on your calling, on what it is you really want to do. And when you've decided to do that for a certain amount of time or for, a project, you aren't going to beat yourself up. You aren't going to feel like, oh my God, I'm such a failure as a mother, because you have chosen to use your power in harmonizing your life. So I hope that makes sense. But I'm constantly, unfortunately, my husband is like, so why is it that when we're harmonizing, the household is always the
thing that goes first,
the part that gets decreased? But
I love that. I love that so much. I feel like we could just go on for hours, but I want to give our listeners a little bit of respect and try to keep this short. I'd love to have you come back. And there's a topic that I was thinking of at the beginning of this conversation. And I think we saved this for like podcast phase 2 of, I'm sure working with these powerhouse women, you have really learned from them maybe some tips that men could use of how to kind of back up and support these powerhouse women in their life. And I would love to have you back on the show and have you do a podcast just for men.
For sure.
How to support your women.
For sure. And we'll make sure that my husband is nowhere around.
Well, maybe we get a couple ladies from our group. I think my husband, it'd be fun to interview him too. And maybe we just splice together a couple of these and say, hey, honeys, why don't we kind of get some insight from you of what it's like to be a husband of a powerhouse woman? Because that alone, I'm sure, can make a man crazy.
Oh my goodness, really. And we just hit our 20th anniversary.
Oh, so, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So he's had years.
I love that. And then B, maybe you give some tips to men of how to support the women in their lives and let them know, wearing a lot of hats is tough. Maybe you do need to hire the cleaning lady for us,
Right, exactly, right. Or just offer help. That's my main thing is we won't ask for help, which means you have to offer it.
Amen. Yeah. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about any programs that you have coming up. What's your website? How can people find you? Kind of what is that next step with working with you?
Sure. So my website is Elevate Your Now, and you can find me on Facebook at Elevate Your Now, on Instagram at Elevate Your Now, and of course my website. I have coming up for the new year a 5-day challenge, and this 5-day challenge is called I Am My Resolution. And it's all about challenging you right in the first week of the year to lean back from declaring a resolution, from talking about these goals, and challenging yourself to actually be your resolution. Let's start being instead of becoming.
Girl, that's so good. Okay, so
it will be on my website, and you have the link in the show notes.
Yes.
So Yeah, I love to have
That is perfect. I am my resolution. Wow. I've never thought about that. And I always set New Year's resolutions. And typically it's what do I want to buy or get or
Right.
manifest or become or whatever. But I've never thought about that, taking a step back and really going like, I'm going to look at myself this next year and
That's
where do
right.
I want to be and where do I want to go and what help do I need? And putting some action steps behind that.
Yeah, it's the key to sustainability and success. A lot of times we can achieve our goals, but how do we sustain them? And that's the key, being instead of becoming.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I
Hey,
appreciate you
thank you,
so much.
Jennifer. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and let's continue this discussion. Let's talk about men next. How about that?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.